This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, but also getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. You can find the link to our playlist in the show notes. Welcome to episode 8. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Paul Dempsey, frontman for one of Australia's favourite bands, Something for Kate. The band are releasing their 7th studio record today, entitled The Modern Medieval, and it marks another fantastic addition to their catalogue. In today's episode, Paul and I talk about the making of the new record, how the band has grown and evolved over time, and the songwriting powers of Phoebe Bridgers and Taylor Swift. Here we go. Our guest today is the frontman for one of Australia's most loved bands, Something for Kate, and a brilliant solo artist in his own right. He and the band have been nominated for over 16 ARIA awards and have had multiple platinum and gold selling records. They're adding to that catalogue today with The Modern Medieval. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Paul Dempsey from Something for Kate.
Hello there.
Hi Paul, how are you today?
I'm good, Simon. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Now, congratulations on The Modern Medieval. It is out today. It's the 7th studio record by the band and the first since 2012. What made you decide to bring the band back together and give another record a crack?
Well, we never were apart. Just to sort of clarify that, we just were really busy doing lots of other things. We've all got young families, and I made a solo record at the same time in there, and it was our 20th anniversary as a band at one point, so there was a big tour around that and a book, so we have actually been really busy as a band, and we've done a lot of touring. We just haven't found the time to write new music and get in a studio, so that's why it took so long. But we never, we've been active the whole time, just lazy about writing new music.
Just as you mentioned a second ago, the band has been operating now for over 20 years, I think 24 years or so.
26.
Oh, damn, sorry. 26 years now. Something for Kate has outlasted a lot of the acts that they grew up with. Other acts have broken up or not been as active or consistent in releasing new music. Where do you think that staying power has come from for Something for Kate?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'd call it consistent, like 8 years between albums, and I think there was 6 years, the one before that. So, yeah, look, we have been active, but I guess the thing is that we haven't put the pressure on ourselves that, we have to put an album out every 2 years and tour until, like, we've been able to do other things. I've been able to go and make solo records and tour with different musicians, and Clint, our drummer, owns a couple of bars in Melbourne, and Steph does a lot of art and photography, and as I say, we all have families, and so, we've all got plenty going on aside from Something for Kate. So I guess when we do make time to do Something for Kate stuff, it's still exciting and fresh for us. It's not like this chore that we have to do, because we don't mind, leaving it 8 years between records. We'll do it when we're ready. So
very fair.
Yeah, it's, I think bands, if they're just kind of trying to make records every 2 years and trying to, it can become a bit of a treadmill, and you can just sort of run out of enthusiasm for it. But that hasn't been the case for us.
That's good. That's what you want from a band.
Yeah.
The new record is extremely lush, and it's quite a great headphone record, if you will. Lots of little intricate bits and pieces. Was that the goal this time around when recording, to kind of have like a really good hi-fi record? Yeah,
definitely. Yes, absolutely. I think, we've made enough records now that we, the one thing that we feel like we still have a lot of room to get better at is just choosing the different sounds and the different tones and textures that you're going to employ to sort of paint the picture. You go back to our early records and it's pretty much just like walls of guitars, and that's just kind of what we knew how to do back then. We were kids. We didn't really know anything about recording studios. But after 7 albums, you would hope that, we've kind of learned a thing or two about how to make something feel more, multi-dimensional, and so that you can sort of listen to it on headphones and it's got like surprises and that's all part of the experience. A good song is a good song, but you could record it a million different ways. So it's all about the choices you make to sort of, present the whole experience.
Of course. You worked with Nick Didia for the recording of the album, who he's previously worked with artists like Pearl Jam and Bruce Springsteen. What was the appeal of working with Nick for this record?
Well, funnily enough, we almost made our first album with Nick 24 years ago. So, Nick's been making records for a long time, and he's a fantastic engineer, and all the stuff he has worked on sounds amazing. Everything, and it's really diverse as well. Like everything from, Bruce Springsteen to Rage Against the Machine or Mastodon. He's just a very accomplished engineer, and he's made a bunch of records with Powderfinger. He's really good mates with Bernard Fanning, who's a good mate of ours. And so when we were picking people, I just, was chatting with Bernard about their experience, and he sold me on Nick. He was just like, yeah, you guys would get along great. And I didn't need any, convincing about his engineering and production skills. So, and it was great. He was fantastic.
Bernard does feature on the record on the track Inside Job. Did that collaboration come from the discussion of Nick, or was that something that was always on the cards before picking out an engineer? It's kind of stupid when I think about it. I had always had the idea in my head that I wanted there to be another voice in that song, because lyrically the song sort of comes from two very different perspectives. So I wanted to highlight that by having another person sing the other part, so you really got the sense that it was a different character. And as I was, in my car driving up to Byron Bay to record in Bernard's studio, it hadn't occurred to me to ask Bernard. And then when I was listening to the demo in the car, and I was just sort of like, Bernard would be perfect for this, like, duh. And he's, we're recording in his studio, and it's kind of silly that I didn't think of it earlier. Just a second ago, you mentioned that the song is about dueling mindsets. The song's subject matter is quite interesting as it kind of touches on conspiracy theories and how it must be lonely for these people who are big believers in some of these theories. Where did this idea come from? And it's definitely been the year when conspiracy theories have come to the forefront or become more present in society.
Yeah, and I should point out that, this album was finished last year. So, everything that's happened this year has kind of yeah. Anyway, it's I guess when I have had some encounters, with people who've had some pretty outlandish ideas, and I want to be really careful though not to generalize and say like all these things are wrong, or
of course,
because that's exactly what they want you to do. I'll simply say that there are various claims that have more or less validity. Fine, that's a different argument. But for some of these people, some of these claims that are made, it's to hold those beliefs and to hold them seriously, to me, just involves such mental gymnastics and such delusions of grandeur and a kind of a narcissism, because you have to believe that you are in possession of important information that other people either don't have, don't accept, or are too intellectually inferior to understand or accept. That you are somehow, you are the main character in a drama.
You're the vessel.
Yeah, and it's like placing yourself as like you are the main character in this, in this drama that, and only you can, and I just, aside from being, possibly narcissistic, possibly, I also, it just occurred to me as well that must be very lonely. It must be really lonely to feel like you know something and everyone else is telling you it's wrong, but you know it and only you know it. It must be really lonely. And that was just something that I hadn't really heard anyone kind of talk about, was that the loneliness that must come with, placing yourself in that sort of position of that as that central character where everyone else is telling you you're wrong.
It definitely is an interesting perspective on the matter. Something for Kate, though, has always had an interesting perspective when it comes to songwriting. I think you guys have previously said that you find it more, or you've previously said you find it more interesting writing songs about the future than songs about the present or the past. What is it that interests you about writing in future tense and about things that could happen instead of dwelling on things from the past?
Well, I guess, it's a really good question. I guess that and I should say I write plenty of songs, that are really, that come from memory as well. So, but I guess I'm just wary about doing that too much. And I guess writing songs about sort of possible scenarios or possible alternate universes where different outcomes have resulted, it just allows you to explore anything. It's really just I think for me, it's just a device for exploring ideas right across the spectrum, whether it's about relationships. I've written songs about whether or not you can truly, whether or not an artificial intelligence can really experience love as we know it. And I've, written songs about, there's a song on the new album about stumbling across a kind of Armageddon bunker full of cryogenically frozen billionaires. And it's a way of exploring those ideas. Why would some billionaire buy land in New Zealand, to build an Armageddon bunker for when society collapses? Why, cryogenic suspension? It's a thing that fascinates me, and the fact that, there are these people who are investing crazy money to be cryogenically suspended so at some future point they can be revived or awoken and to live in the future or to survive the collapse of our civilization at the moment. And this stuff's out there. I mean, people are doing this. And I just find it really fascinating. And, they're interesting stories to me. And you don't, I don't hear them in contemporary music.
I think it's definitely a strength, it's definitely a strength of Something for Kate, because I guess that's why you guys continue to have new fans come on board, and people who are invested in the band stay and love you guys so much, because I think that there's stuff that people just don't talk about and that you guys do.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like, I mean, I wrote Ramona Was a Waitress 10 years ago, and at the time I'm pretty sure there weren't too many songs about, you know, artificial intelligence, and there's a lot now, and I'm not claiming some sort of whatever, but you have to put the ideas out there for the discussion to happen.
Of course, you're a trendsetter.
No, it's not that, but like, I do hope that a song like Last Resort Town on this album, the one about the cryogenically frozen billionaires, hopefully that is a cause for discussion about, why all these billionaires are reading this book called The Sovereign Individual, that is basically a handbook of how to survive the collapse of Western democracies. And, it's worthy of discussion.
Talking about Ramona Was a Waitress, when you are writing music, is there any clear indicator to you, or this is a Paul Dempsey solo artist song, or this is a Something for Kate song?
No, it's always, whatever we're doing next. Like if the next thing is the Paul Dempsey album, then that's where the songs go. And if the next thing is a Something for Kate album, then that's where the songs go. But I guess the difference is that if it's a solo album, then I will finish the songs all by myself, and so they will end up a certain way. Whereas if it's for Something for Kate record and Clint and Steph get involved, and then it's like a three-way conversation, then the song ends up in a very, very different place. The ideas can come from the same place, but depending on how they're funneled, they come out quite different.
Yeah, of course. On the new record, my personal favourite track would be Bluebird, which is about sometimes it's just good to drown things out and have the outside world just that little bit quieter. Mental health appears to be a more talked about and more accepted topic these days within the arts and within music. I'm curious, I know that you said previously this was the record was finished pre-COVID, but for yourself, how important is it to be able to not necessarily shut out the outside world, but for it to be just muted for a short period of time?
Yeah, I'm not very good at it because I'm just sort of too alert to everything. I want to know what's going on all the time. And I think sometimes that can compromise my mood or my outlook. But I'm also pretty good at...
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Your wedding will be one of the happiest days of your life, and Blue Nile can help you celebrate it with a gift that'll last a lifetime. Whether you're looking for wedding bands, a gift for your partner, or an unforgettable thank you to your bridesmaids, Blue Nile offers a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Plus, expert guidance to ensure you find the perfect piece. Experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999 at BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com.
I know how to... I've learnt enough about my own mind that I know when I need to put my head in a different kind of book, or play with my kids, or do a cryptic crossword. I've got all kinds of fun ways of shifting my focus. But just in general, I am someone who is really kind of alert to what's going on, and sort of constantly checking.
I think that's fair enough. I'm curious, as we discussed earlier, the band has been playing together for 26 years now. You've played shows like Recovery and Channel V gigs, and in that time, promoting a record has changed as well. We've gone from playing those TV shows to this year where there are live streams and podcasts such as this one. For you, how has promoting a record changed over that time, and how, I guess, do you have a favourite time that you look back on?
Well, I mean, we've probably seen, the complete opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of, obviously here we are in 2020 talking on a Zoom call, but, when we started out, there was literally no mobile phones or internet. And when you went off on tour, you had to stop at a post office somewhere to send a fax to the hotel you were going to be staying in to confirm that, when you'd be arriving. And so it's, we've seen all of the changes, even the way music is consumed. Our first EPs came out on vinyl and, cassette, and, MP3s didn't exist. Music on the internet didn't exist. So, yeah, we've kind of seen it all. And, I don't really have any sort of value judgment about it. It's just fascinating to watch the world change and to see technology and to see how it impacts things. I feel, I don't know, my outlook on most things is kind of pretty. I take a sort of a perspective on things from very, very far away most of the time. I just find that's sort of the healthiest thing for me, is to be outside the solar system a lot of the time and kind of just watch the goings on this planet without making too many value judgments about it. Otherwise you go insane, or without attaching unnecessary import to things you can't control, because otherwise you go insane. So, yeah, I've just watched everything change. And what are you going to do? And it's just going to keep on changing. And, yeah, so it's, yeah, again, it's just I make no value judgments about it. But the way we work and the way we've done things has had to change a lot. But even more so just in the last 5 years. The difference between the first 5 years and the second 5 years was not that much. Now it's different every year. The difference every year is, snowballing. So the change itself is even more rapid.
For yourself in lockdown, and especially in Melbourne where it was a longer and more intense lockdown period, artists that I've spoken to have either fallen into one or two camps where they were either extremely productive and were flexing that creative muscle to create an ISO record or two, or they felt that there was too much pressure to create and thought, no, now's not the time to be creative or to be creating art. Did you find yourself in either of those camps or a possible third?
Third camp, yeah. I initially, when it all started, I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to write a whole album. I had there's all this stuff I was going to do. And then basically for most of the year, I've been helping my son through grade 3. So that's, you have all these ideas and then reality gets in the way. When homeschooling started up and we had to adjust to that, I just realised that it was just going to be better for him if I sat next to him. So everything else got... there was just no time for anything else because, I kind of sat with him all day, every day, just to sort of, just to make sure he was okay doing school on a laptop.
I imagine your kids were happy to have mum and dad home, though, for a little while.
Yeah, well, they're really lucky because we work from home for the most part anyway. So that, they get to see us probably more than most working parents get to see their kids. So we're really lucky in that way. Yeah.
Paul, would you be happy to talk about your playlist?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
One pick that I was quite excited to see was a track from Better Oblivion Community Centre. Now, many years ago, and for a very different publication, I did have a chat with yourself, and at the time we talked about the record Cassadaga by Bright Eyes, who both bands share a frontman. What is it about Conor Oberst's songwriting that kind of attracts you?
I think he's a brilliant lyricist. He just has an amazing way with words and an ability to just hit you with so many images and ideas, and it just evokes so much. He just fills your head with pictures and scenes and strong emotions, and that's just a really amazing ability. But also his delivery, the way he just delivers everything with a kind of frantic honesty, like he just has to get it off his chest or he's going to go crazy. And I just can really relate to that.
Yeah, he is a brilliant songwriter. The other half of Better Oblivion Community Centre is one Miss Phoebe Bridgers, who you've also included in your list with I Know the End. Now, this might be the greatest closing track of a record this year. That's just my vote. What is it about this song that you love?
Like you said, it builds up to a crescendo that is just like beyond anything I've heard in a really, really long time. And, again, she's one of my favourite songwriters out there today, and the way that song kind of starts so gently and you think it's going one way, and then it kind of leads you by the hand, and before you know it, it's just like you're in free fall into a black hole. But it's sort of glorious and celebratory. It's amazing how it feels like a celebration, but at the same time it's so dark.
It's weirdly cathartic for a song about the apocalypse. Yeah. It's just brilliantly put together, and she again she's a fantastic lyricist and just got an angelic voice. Definitely, I can definitely agree with that. One song I was slightly surprised to see on your playlist, Paul, was My Tears Ricochet by Taylor Swift, which was off her most recent record, Folklore. She worked on that record with Aaron Dessner from The National. Do you think that, I guess, having little touches here and there worked on by Aaron, who has worked with acts like Bon Iver and others in the past, has kind of helped, not that she had any trouble getting fans before, but maybe helped open her up to a new subsection of fans? He's obviously done it's been a great collaboration, I think, for both of them. I think you could probably argue that she's probably raised his profile more than but look, I think she is also a fantastic songwriter, and yes, she has been. It's been mostly in the kind of pop realm, but even her pop writing has just such a sharp sense of her melody, her ability to weave 50 different catchy melodies into one verse, and her lyrics are just sharp. She's witty and sharp, and I just appreciate the fact that she, writes most of it herself or with one other sort of trusted co-writer. She's not one of these sort of pop artists whose songs are sort of written by committee. So I think she's a really super talented individual. I always have thought that. But I think with this record, she's definitely made what appears to be a conscious step away from, the sort of pop princess
dancing around, and that, you know, she's, I guess decided that she wants to show another more mature,
another songwriting muscle in a way.
I guess you evolve. Everyone evolves as an artist, and you know. So I think the whole new record she's made is fantastic, and I just particularly that song just is a standout for me. But I think the whole record is great, and I think she is, she's just a very smart, sharp writer, and you know it's also just I just think it's just really the way she's just moving her career into the next phase. You know, it seems to me like she's sort of done dancing around the stage now, but the quality songwriting is going to continue.
I agree. I think that's very true. I think she's stepping into a new phase of her career, or at least a new phase in what she's releasing. Paul, thank you very much for your time today, and thank you very much for coming onto the podcast. I do appreciate it.
No, pleasure, Simon. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Paul Dempsey and to Something for Kate. Their 7th record, The Modern Medieval, is out today. It's available on all streaming platforms, and we've also included a link to their web store in the show notes, where you can buy the record on coloured vinyl. We also want to give a huge shout out to Mariam at EMI for helping us out with today's interview. You can find a link to our Spotify playlist in the show notes, where you'll be able to listen to all of Paul's picks. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Thursday morning, with guest playlists streaming on Spotify at the same time. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Until next week, cheers.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you? If people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else. Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.